What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? It's Mark T here. Welcome to the No Backboard Basketball Show. I'm excited today because the other day on Instagram, while doing some searches on name, image, and likeness, I saw that there was a new book recently published, and I reached out to one of the authors of the book and asked him would he come on the show and share with us the information in his book and help me continue down my journey of understanding NIL as I look to be able to couple the name, image, and likeness movement with the No Backboard Basketball League platform and empower, or what we've been saying, to prepare, promote, and pay young NIL eligible basketball players. But we want to do it in the right manner. And from the outset, what caught me about this book, and the name of the book is NIL for All, immediately what I resonated with was two things. One, the focus on really empowering the everyday student athlete, not the 1%, but the everyday student athlete. And that resonated with me because for those that have been listening to what I've been saying, my focus isn't the 5-star athlete or even the 4-star athlete, but really that 2-star athlete, that athlete that will end up doing 4 years someplace, maybe even be there on a partial scholarship, was able to leverage their whole personal brand, if you would, in a manner that puts a couple extra $100 or a couple extra $1,000 in their pocket, and know how to manage that in a way that on the other side, when they get out of school, they are empowered and prepared because they have the experience, they have the education, they have the experience of hands-on business, if you would, and those responsibilities as well as an athlete. So, and the other thing that resonated with me was the holistic approach, right? Because the entire gamut is covered here, from the personal branding all the way to the importance of the community service, and really instilling in the student athlete and these athletes that, like it or not, people are looking up to them. And there's a certain level of responsibility there. So I'm excited to bring our guest on today. And I hope I pronounce his name correctly. I believe it's Mark Koesterer. Koesterer?
Hey, Mark, how are you? It's Mark Koesterer. Thank you very much.
I'm well. Thank you. Hold on. Let me get my volume on this side. And your co-author is Elizabeth Houghton. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right. Just one moment. Let me get mine. All right. Excellent. Welcome.
Thank you.
And where are you located? Are you in Southern California?
I am. I'm in cold, rainy Los Angeles.
That's what I heard. I heard it's raining down there. So, Mark, to best use our time, let's kind of jump into this. But before we get to what I really want to get into about your book, I like to ask all my guests the opening 3 questions, just so we can get a little bit about you and an understanding of kind of what's driving you. So, my first question is always in the beginning, but start from where NIL made sense to you, even before it was NIL. But what was it? Where did you start? What was the moment that student athletes, their protection, their education became important to you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity, Mark, and I'm excited to share what I've learned and what I've written in this book, which I think can help, as you said in the introduction so eloquently, the everyday athlete. So I won't take too long, but I think my
Okay, I think
I'm sorry. I won't take too long, but my journey started when I was a child. I was the son of a junior high gym teacher, and my father instilled in me that there was an opportunity to use athletics to better my life, meaning, create educational opportunities, college opportunities. He wasn't even thinking scholarship. He was just thinking, go to a good school, meet great people, create, a life for yourself. And I was a good high school athlete. I wasn't great. I was a Division II football player. So I was not in that top 2%. I was they didn't have stars in those days, but Division II football, and it was a great experience. Best friends of my life, created job opportunities, networking, all the things that my father suggested would happen. I then took that, and this is what really is important behind the Players NIL, which is our company. I took that, my father's message, and I applied it to my young adult life, becoming a young father. And I said, how can I use athletics to better the lives of the people around me? Not just myself, but my friends, my family, my community, my neighbors, people I met. Mm-hmm. And how could we force multiply and use athletics to create opportunities and expand upon, good citizenship and all those things. And I was successful in doing that. I was very fortunate to have some programs that ended up helping a lot of kids and a lot of adults as well. I was in the sports and entertainment business for the last 14 years prior to NIL, where I learned about brand marketing and athlete engagement, sponsorship, all of these things that in today's modern sports and entertainment and athlete empowerment movements have collided. And when name, images, and likeness was officially authorized, which was July 1st of 2021, so less than 2 years ago at this point, I thought to myself, how could I make a difference? What could I do? I had sold the business that I was in, and I thought that I didn't want to be an agent. I didn't want to represent student athletes or brands and take a piece of the deal. I wasn't a technology person, so I didn't have any software. But what was the one thing I could do? I could bring my life experience as a student athlete, as a father of athletes, 4 Division I athletes in my family, as a father of a college coach, as a 14-year professional managing athletes in Hollywood. I could bring that experience and put it together in the form of education. And that's why we created the Players NIL.
Now, right there, that's the first I know about your background, but it makes sense how the value that is captured so concisely yet comprehensively. Right there. It all comes through. Whoever watches this video nailed it. That's my takeaway. I see multiple lifetimes in this book captured and distilled down into keep it simple and actionable steps to get someone moving forward. Awesome. So what's the passion? What's the why these days? What's your passion? What's your why right now?
Well, so during this process, right before NIL started, my father passed away. And in writing his eulogy, Mark, it took me many pages to write down all that he had done. This was not a man, he did not own a business. He was not a publicly elected official. He was a community servant. He was a member of his church. He was a good neighbor. And the word that came to me was legacy. And I thought to myself, as name, image, and likeness came about, and I thought about education, I posed this question to people and they get a little stunned, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but Mark, if you disappeared tomorrow, would anyone care?
Good question.
It's a heavy question, right?
Yes, very heavy.
So,
yes.
And, I feel like my legacy, which is the word that we use, is intact. I've been a successful dad. I've been a successful neighbor and community servant, successful because of my father's gifts. So, how can I leave a legacy beyond just that? And can we change thousands of people's lives through NIL, and in particular through the 5 Pillars course and our education platform?
Excellent. So the next question seems pretty obvious, which was, what's your focus at the moment? And it sounds like you just mentioned it. So let's walk down that corridor a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the 5 Pillars course. And what do you expect student athletes to get out of it once they've completed the 5 Pillars course?
Well, so I think, in looking at this, kind of global comprehensive view of student athletes and the modern world, I thought that, certainly personal branding and certainly social media were going to play a part of it. But I thought we could use the platform of NIL to actually, change people's lives and force multiply and use athletics to better the lives of the people around us. And I thought long and hard about what a comprehensive educational platform would look like. And I designed the 5 pillars with this in mind. Pillar number one is digital marketing, personal branding, which in the first year of NIL was 70+% of NIL deals based on social media. So very important. And I throw this caveat into it, Mark. It's not your friends and family from the lake on Sunday, right? That's not your digital marketing platform. That's not an audience of growth, right? That's your friends and family. How do you expand that audience? How do you reach people? How do you resonate with people? What's your storytelling that people want to listen to? So that's pillar number one. Pillar number two is in sequence, because once you have an audience, how do you leverage that in NIL with a brand? What are brands looking for? What's an authentic brand? What's a brand that makes sense? What's a brand that's part of your story? What are the brands looking for? What are the deliverables? What are the measurables? So that's pillar number two. Pillar number three is a little bit more technical and mechanical, but nonetheless important, and that is tax, legal, and compliance. So unfortunately, coming up in about 5 or 6 weeks on April 15th of 2023, I'm very nervous for all the student athletes that didn't withhold taxes and were 1099 from their NIL deals and are in trouble, maybe even upside down financially.
Yeah, I've heard some stories.
Yeah, compliance is a tricky issue because the rules are changing, right? And legal is, how do you read a contract? What do intellectual rights mean? What does, lifetime rights mean? Intellectual property. What are net payment terms? Really basic concepts. We're not going to teach anybody to be a lawyer. This is not law school, but you should be able to read a document and at least ask intelligent questions of your advisors. So that's pillar three. Pillar four is my father's pillar. It's community service and philanthropy.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. When Damar Hamlin went down with a medical emergency with the Buffalo Bills, thankfully he's okay. And thank you to everyone that saved his life on the field.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the process of trying to raise $2,500 for a charity that he had started back in Pittsburgh in his high school and college days. When people saw that medical emergency, they were affected by it. Mm-hmm. They felt compelled to dive deeper into who was Damar Hamlin, because I would venture to say many people did not know who it was. Mm-hmm. But once it was revealed about his charitable function in the society and his giving back, last I saw was over $9 million had been raised. Mm-hmm. And I say it's because he had a philanthropy and community service component to his brand.
Right.
And so I think that's a great way for people to give back. Those of us that have benefited from the athletics need to appreciate that and give back and pay forward, as they say. So that's pillar four. Pillar five, and the final pillar, is financial literacy. You said it, whether it's $100, $1,000, or 40 or 50 or $1 million, everyone can benefit from sound financial advice when they're young, making mistakes that or trying to prevent mistakes that will prevent you from being successful for the rest of your life.
Yep.
And we think that everyone should take a financial literacy course.
You nailed it. Those are definitely five solid pillars. And it's obvious that they're extracted from your lifetime experience and the people who have influenced you in your own walk and development in life. Awesome. So again, a 30-minute read, definitely, but I view it as something that you go through in 30 minutes, and then you find that area that resonates with you, and you go back and you read that a little bit, and you take an action step, and you execute on that. Excellent. What really, you mentioned something in here. So you drill down a little bit on the whole concept of name, image, and likeness, right? Me taking my name, image, and likeness out into the marketplace and allowing brands, if you would, to use that. But I believe you also talk about right to publicity. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's part of the legal terminology that was written in the court documents, and essentially you nailed it. Name, image, and likeness is your personal brand and the things that you control because they're yours. And what the courts have decided is that you have the right to leverage those, to use publicity, to engage in financial transactions, marketing and leveraging your name, image, and likeness. And that's essentially what that means.
Excellent. And so how do you see with your understanding of NIL and the focus on the everyday athlete, how do you envision the current youth sports model being impacted? Do you see any opportunities there for your high school club programs, your academies, your prep schools to reimagine the way they operate, to leverage NIL in a positive way to incentivize the right behaviors among student athletes to drive better end results?
Absolutely, 100%. We believe that the 5 pillars really are life skills that every young person probably should have a knowledge of. And in 25 or so states currently, name, image, and likeness is allowed in high school. I believe that the rest of the states will follow suit. Some may be sooner, some may be later. But we actually built this course with the idea that we would start teaching our principles, the 5 pillars, as juniors in high school. When your college decision process begins, when your recruiting process begins, there are going to be 5-star athletes at younger ages that are in conversation with Power 5 schools and revenue-generating sports. I think they probably should read the book and take the class, because even if they're gifted a Division I Power 5 opportunity and a college collective, which is a booster club on steroids, uses some money to help them make their decision, why not take that money and multiply it by being a good NIL student, by being a good marketer, an entrepreneur, a business person?
What does that look like to you when you say that? Because I hear what you're saying is, what I'm envisioning is, I'm on a football team and I'm player 48. I'm right there in the sweet spot. I get my piece of the team deal. And if I don't do any work, that's the only NIL money I'm receiving. What I think I hear you saying is, hey, let's show you how to leverage that and multiply that and be a bit more active in developing your personal brand and initiating some relationships to see if you can multiply that. You envision empowering student athletes with those tools and skills.
Yeah, so let's use your scenario, because I agree that is a question that I get asked often. So you're player number 48 on the team, right? But when you go back home to your high school, you were a star, right? You were in the newspaper every Saturday morning after a Friday night game or whatever sport you played. You walk down the street, people say, hey, how are you? Little kids, looked at you and came to your games. Why not use NIL to leverage that celebrity in your hometown and give back through a camp, through community service, the local pizza shop, the local insurance shop, a regional grocery store chain, a car dealership? There are ways for you to still leverage who you are, because in the eyes of the general public, if you are number 48 on a Division I Power 5 football team, you're still a celebrity. And the college collective is probably going to pay you to do things at the college community level. That's how you're going to earn that collective money. But why not expand upon that and be good at telling your story and building your brand, for example, back in your hometown?
That's a solid example. Solid example. So how do people find the course? How do people sign up for the course?
The website is theplayersnil.com, all one word, theplayersnil. We're on social at theplayersnil. That's our @ sign. There's a free preview on our website. Please go there and click through that. Gives you some snippets. Our content is totally online. What we've done is we've made it dynamic, Mark. So it's a combination of cartoons, animated whiteboard, gamification, roulette wheels, card games, in terms of fun, interactive segments, 2 to 4 minutes in length. So it's very dynamic. You can start and stop anywhere you want. It's self-paced, self-learning. And the Players NIL 5 Pillars course is available on our website.
Excellent. Now, so Mark, while I have you on the show, I want to get your opinion of the ideas I'm running through my head with coupling a new basketball sport. I think you saw some highlights in the preview with leveraging NIL. My whole thought process is providing a complimentary service that provides literally, I could use your course. I could use your course. I'm like, man, I could use this. Use your course. We provide the community service, and the young men play in our tournaments. We use the name, image, and likeness to take that content, broadcast that content out, promote them, expose them. Obviously, if you're playing on a hoop with no backboards, a smaller hoop, faster game. If you're doing well, that's demonstrating a level of competency. And plus, it should be pretty entertaining. So in the best case scenario, we executed. First of all, is that a organization structure that you think can fit in NIL, as long as the quid pro quo is clearly laid out and all the agreements are laid out clearly?
Yeah, I think, look, name, image, and likeness is a fancy word for being an influencer, right? And like it or not, the Kardashians have changed the marketing world. Brands
Yes,
are
they
using
have.
influencers, whether they be street cred influencers, comedians, musicians, athletes have been influencers for many, many years. Go back to, Joe Namath and Arnold Palmer and, all of those athletes when television started to really expand in the early 60s. And so there's no reason, Mark, that your league and your athletes and your personalities couldn't tell a story, right? About their everyday life, about their interaction in the community, about what the game is like, how they feel, a day in the life, a behind the scenes, a community service component to what you're doing.
While still retaining their eligibility. That's
still
the key
retain their
point.
eligibility, right?
That's the key point.
Yeah, so there's no question that name, image, and likeness affords all kinds of brands a connection with influencers. In this particular case, we're talking about athletic brands and athletes, and that works totally fine.
That is very, very insightful. Excellent. So we're I don't have really any other questions for you. I really do appreciate your time. What I will say is I went through this in about 15 minutes. The way it's laid out, very clear headings. It's a good scan. You get a comprehensive overview. And then you can go back in and hit the bullet points. But definitely this is good for the parents. And then parents, after you read this, you want to make sure that your sons and daughters are enrolled and take this course. Because to your point, real quick, my story is I am a student athlete. And I would have been, I'm a student athlete. I played on a team that was ranked in the top 15 in the country. I would walk to our games and there'd be people lined up around the gym. So there was a season of my life where I was known and I was identified, and there's a big fish in a little pond, if you would. And everybody on our team was a rock star in their own right. And we had some lead singers and we had some cool backup singers, but collectively, we were a road show, and wherever we went, right? But there was no benefit there, right? So I think this is good for any student athlete as a basic coursework, if you would, going into college. I think that tier right there is solid. And then for those elite athletes that are younger, definitely. But definitely when as a student athlete, I'm going to college. This is information you need, just because you never know when lightning in a bottle is going to strike your school, your program, that experience, and the whole nation is watching you. You want to be able to leverage that for good, leverage that attention, leverage that influence to be able to advance those causes that are important to you, that are important in your community. And the other thing, Mark, that you said that really jumped out that I didn't equate was the fact that though you are number 45, 48 on the team, when you're home, you're that guy that was still in the paper every week, to your point, at an elevated level. And there really is an opportunity. And the last thing, one thing I see as a takeaway from all of this, Mark, is tangible skills in the business, tangible business skills and experience. Reading the contracts, understanding the contracts, having those negotiation conversations, fulfilling the agreements of the contracts, understanding the finance, the budgeting, and then understanding what to do with your money at the end. And then doing it all in the spirit of humility and being a servant to those people around you. Hey, I think you and Elizabeth caught everything. I want to appreciate you for being on the show. Hopefully we stay connected, and have a great day, my man.
Mark, thank you very much. Good luck to you and your audience.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Again, this is an outstanding book, NIL for All. It's a 30-minute read. If you get this in screen, if you have any student athletes, I strongly recommend this book. Definitely going to follow up with Mark about leveraging that with the No Backboard Basketball NIL Prep Exposure Program. All right, it's Mark T. Going to wrap up this show today. Till next time, be blessed.